got us started, but I do always like to start our Wednesdays with this quote, and then we start with three gratitudes. So, or three things you're grateful for. So, gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. So, guys, what do we think grateful for this morning?
I'd like to come on and say that I'm very grateful for Jan, our broker. I got to meet with her yesterday about starting my business and kind of running some ideas by her for my version of Sean Cleary's Facebook groups. And she was very supportive. And I mean, it's exactly what I've always wanted from a mentor. So I'm very appreciative of Jan this morning.
That's a great shout out. Good. Glad that's working out. Who else? Like I always say, I pretend to be comfortable in silence. So I need two more before we get going.
I'll go. I'm grateful that got the opportunity to help some agents navigate through some transactions. So one today, one of our agents is closing on his own home. So I'm excited about that. And then we also have another agent that she's purchasing her own home as well, and her offer finally got accepted over negotiations for 4 or 5 days. But we talked it through, and I was able to help with that. And she'll be in her home in about 3 weeks. So excited about our agents buying their own homes and grateful for that.
Great. Great. Okay, one more.
My wife says I have to go. I had a small truck fire under my hood just last week. I am grateful that it's only a couple grand to get my truck fixed and not that I have to trade my truck in like I was afraid.
That's a good one to be grateful for. Anything that, well, first be grateful for your safety. Goodness, way to catch it early. And yes.
It was tiny.
Oh yeah. Hex King said, "Is it a Dodge?"
It is a 2013 GMC Sierra 1500 crew cab.
All the details. There you go. Hex said she had a Ram that survived a hurricane. Let me see, is that right? What she said, yeah, survived a hurricane. So, yeah, once. So yeah, trucks are built to last. Well, I'm glad everything's okay, Tim, and you still got some money in your pocket, for sure. I then moved to our video, hoping that the video will play. So we are going to share screen again and share this screen and go here. Can you see this? It should be an Instagram page. Yep, good. Okay, here we go. So let me refresh it because I wanted to play it from the beginning. All right, here we go. Yep.
We have dozens of known moments that the first time we think about getting ready for that moment is when we find ourselves in that moment. If you can add the same amount of thoughtful thought that you put into the do-overs that you'd like to make and just put it out there up front, chances are you'll have more impact in the moment. How many of you in this room lead meetings with your team that you're like, what am I going to talk about today? It's true, right? Like, how many people are in your team, Jonathan? 120 people. If you get 120 people together, how long is a typical meeting? Less than an hour. So does that mean it's 59 minutes or does it mean it's 6?
No, it's close to an hour.
Close to an hour. So 59 minutes is what it is. And this is 120 people. What do people in your team typically earn? What do they value their time at?
We don't charge by the hour. So
What do they value their time at? I didn't ask what you charge. I asked what do they value their time at? You couldn't tell me. If you could tell me, what might you guess it as?
175 an hour.
175 an hour, just a guess, right? And there's 120 of these hours at 175 bucks. How much is this meeting? Right? It's a $15,000 moment. Did you get ready for it like it was a $15,000 moment, or did you get ready for it like it's 59 minutes of your day?
Okay, for those of you guys who don't know, that is Phil Jones, and I'm building off of what Ben talked about yesterday. I should have put that in there. Ben talked about the book, Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. And that's Phil Jones, and he started that conversation about how do you prepare? How do you prepare for the conversations? How are you preparing for lead gen? How do Ben, Steven, and I prepare for even these talks that we give you in the morning? As you guys, this is like our third one or maybe even fourth week into this. As you can tell, I am a preparer. I usually have a slide, I have a video, I have a lesson that's already built out to do that. That's how I operate. In fact, I'm so glad that I prepared because I barely got here on time this morning because I had to double back because my kid forgot his orchestra clothes in the back of the car, even though they were right beside his book bag. So that added time. So again, it's about that preparation. But what other ahas did you hear when you listened to that video today? Besides just preparing, what are some ahas that you got from that?
I would say assigning value to the task at hand, kind of the way he quantified what that meeting's worth. I never thought about it like that. So that's an aha.
Yeah, for sure. He quantified what people's time is worth. And that's a huge one. That's a huge one about respect, running late, that kind of thing. If you're going to make a plan or decide to meet with somebody, people's time is valuable. It's the only true commodity that's out there that it spends no matter what we do. So we need to make sure that we are on time and doing those types of things. I love that, James. Who else?
Hey Meredith, I would think also like when you go to those types of meetings, like dress in the part, basically.
Yeah. What's part of your preparation? What are you doing to prepare for your listing appointments? What do you do to prepare for your buyer showings? Are you printing out the MLS sheet or are you winging it? What do you do when you're doing lead gen? What are you doing? So yeah, love that. Dress the part. That's one of the things. And one more. Steve, I'm gonna throw you out there, friend. What do you do to prepare? What's an aha for the video?
Yeah, I definitely think the approach, but I also I just associate it with Stephen Covey's begin with the end in mind. So thinking about what's the real end goal and then kind of back it up from there, and making sure that the true impact is kind of thrown in the entire process or entire lecture time, making sure that you reiterate certain things so they hit home, so that when they leave, they remember those, main topics and main things.
I love that too. So that's another approach. So Steven says he goes in, he's like, what is my goal? And then he backtracks out of that to figure out how he plans for that and make sure he's hitting certain points so that he can get to that end goal. So I love that. So on Wednesdays, we try to focus on lead generation. Ben kind of throws me a wild card here and there. So I'm also trying to build off a little bit of what he says. Because remember yesterday, we talked a lot about building your database. What does your database look like? How do you find listings within your database? Now we're going to pivot a little bit. And if you think about people that you could lead gen with, if you're just getting started in the business, or even if you are 10 years into the business, if you were going to think of a pillar of your leads, so a type of lead, a type of lead source, typically what is the easiest lead source to connect with on a regular basis?
Your friends, your family, people you know.
Yeah. Thanks, Lori. Exactly. So that your friends, your family, the people you know, like, or trust. They've got to hit one of those buckets. Typically, they're hitting two at least of those buckets. Who you like, know, or who like you, who know you and trust you, right? And what you collectively call those are your sphere of influence. So when you're thinking about lead genning, what your activity should start with, especially in this day and age where relationships are gold. You're trying to build that relationship. You're trying to show that you should lead with your sphere of influence. So I'm going to share with you, again, let's hope, a lesson really quickly. Let me go off that. Here we go, here, and and slideshow. You guys can see that? Yep, so that is page 48. Again, you can get this straight off of command and go into connect. So this is build your SOI. So the first thing you should think about is preparing. Be ready to articulate what your value is, who you are as an agent, who you're trying to be. So in this particular instance, this is Troy Williams out of York Beach, Maine, and he wanted to determine what his value was, especially for new agents, especially for people who are just trying to re-engage. What is your value that you're going to add that you can articulate to your sphere of influence when you're calling them or when you're touching base with them? We have 4 examples. The local economist. I love this one. We all know this. When you're networking and they find out you're a real estate agent, one of the first things someone asks you is, what's the real estate market like? And for you to sit, instead of having to hem and haw a little bit, it's great that you would have some local stats. That's a lot of what Vince and Joseph are pouring into us on a quarterly basis. I know you guys just got your quarterly update. We in Charlotte just got our quarterly update yesterday when they were here with us. So make sure you're taking a couple of nuggets so you can talk about what's the supply right now, what's the inventory, what is it, a seller's market, is it buyer's market? You don't have to know the numbers in and out, but get yourself a couple of key talking points so that when somebody asks you what's going on with the real estate market, you can be that local economist of choice. The other thing they mentioned is a vendor list. We all have these. Remember, this is not just about you being able to sell their house, but how can you help them to sell their house? So vendors such as anything from like your floor person, your hardwood floors, your carpet person who cleans your gutters. Have a vendor list ready to share with your sphere of influence. Community information is also key. We think it's not, but because people can always Google and say, hey, what's going on in Charleston this weekend? But a lot of times if they have something at their fingertips or a reminder that such and such a thing is going on, that is really important. Also, anything that has to do with giving back to your community, just not what's going on. And then, of course, obviously, know your stuff. Make sure you're going to those trainings that are offered in your office. Make sure that you're staying on top of any changes that are going on with forms. Forms is a big one for us here in North Carolina. The stuff is always getting updated and not updated on an annual basis. Just a random June afternoon, we'll get a new update on a form. So make sure that you're doing those types of things. Okay. The next thing is fill your database. Ben talks about this too. It's one of the main tenets of lead gen is that you not only communicate with your database, but you're also filling it. So when you're thinking of your sphere of influence, make a list of everyone you know. There's just a lot of memory joggers. If you were to Google a memory jogger, you'll be surprised. Memory jogger, it'll pop up a list of like maybe 115 questions. And there'll be people in there that you might not have thought about when you're trying to add to your database. These are people, even if you've been in the business for a while and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot to add my mechanic. It's those type of things, or I forgot anybody who's bought something from you, you might likely be able to sell your services back. And that is your real estate expertise, right? So make a list, make sure that those people are in your database, at least with a phone number or email address. The next one is communicate. So we talked a little bit about communication yesterday. Ben was like, one of your easiest communication tactics can be a call that says, hey, do you know what it's not a, hey, what do you know your home is worth? Stephen, do you remember exactly the wording? He pulled it from here. Do you remember what it was? Not to quiz you, but I'm not sure if it's for you, but would you be interested? Yeah, the but, yes. I'm not sure if it's for you, but would you be interested in finding out the value of your home, or do you know the interest or the value of your home, right? That is a one-on-one communication. That is a direct communication where you're showing value. So you can do that type of touch. Does anybody know? I'm gonna stop share just for a minute. Does anybody know? Well, I'm gonna keep it open for a minute. Does anybody know what the DTD2 is? Does anybody know what DTD2 is when I say that? James knows. Steven says no. X says no. Okay, let me go back to share. DTD2 is do the database twice, which really is odd because it's really do the database 4 times, but it's do the database twice. But it's a Keller Williams term. And what that means is it allows you, if you follow a certain, and I'm a big process person, so I like to kind of have some kind of organization. If you follow this method, it will ensure that you get through your entire database 4 times a year. So this is what it looks like. It is, I'm going to go back to share, and then I'm going to go here. I really need to close the window, but here we go. So here, I know it's blurry, but what it does is it assigns 2 letters per week each quarter for you to call in your database. So in Q2, we are on week 5. So over here, you see that you are to call the H and V's in your database and text the J's. This repeats every 13 weeks. So if you follow this just straight forward, okay, so you know it's the 5th, Lord, I didn't go across. The 5th week is actually C and K, not H and V. It's C and K. Okay, so you know that you're going to call your C's and K's. Either stick with the last name of the people or stick with the first name. But then this week, you know, okay, my lead gen activity, my one-on-one touch should be, I'm going to call the C's and the K's in my database. And then the following week, it moves on to another set of letters. That allows you to stay in some kind of system to ensure that you are regularly having that value conversation once a quarter. You could also use it for another touch. You could do some another one-on-one touch, what could be an invite to an event. Make sense? But if you Google DTD2 and put in Keller Williams, this will pop up and it'll be an image and you can just kind of save it on your phone. And it gives you some kind of process so that you're not just saying, oh gosh, who should I lead gen with today? It's, oh gosh, let me pull up DTD2. My 2 letters for this week are C and K, and let me get through C's and K's. And I'm telling you, it really changes. It really allows you to have some kind of process around your lead gen activities, especially your phone calls and your outreach. Anybody have questions about that or thoughts? Does anybody use a DTD2? James? Yeah. So again, and you can pick it up at any point. So just like I said, just walk in, it's week 6 next week, do the next 2 letters, and that's a good way for you to do some lead gen. I know I've got some new agents on here, Khadijah and Rod. Like that's a good way for when you're thinking about it, just jump right in. Okay.
Eric, can I say one thing?
Yeah,
I think
James.
the biggest thing that helped is I had to go through and tag everybody to make it easier.
Yeah.
And then with a smart plan assigned to it. So then you don't have to think about it.
You don't have to think about, love that. That's right. So yeah, so in command, thanks, James. It actually gives a good segue. In command, once you upload your database, what you could do is you could go and create these tags and then do exactly what James says. You can tag it. There may even be a new smart plan that if you search for the smart plan within command, it may pop up a DTD2 because that was a big issue, is that you manually had to create your DTD2. Did you do a manual creation, James?
No, Holly had a smart plan. I just had to tell.
See, Holly, there you go. So yeah, you just, because Holly has shared that smart plan with you, you just need to put it in place. So that's great. Then there's if you go down here, so when we're thinking about communication, right? So we've done the one-on-one. I've told you that's 4 easy touches that are just phone calls. Then you've got a text message. So that is, and that's twice a month, twice a year. So you've already had 6 touches. If we're trying to build a way of consistently talking to our sphere of influence through a 36 touch plan, and we've already got 6. Another easy way within command is to communicate with your database. Instead of one-to-one, it's one-to-many. So you create a newsletter, or you just easily use the neighborhood nurture. The neighborhood nurture is, again, a smart plan that's in command. You just put everybody on a smart plan. You put everybody on the neighborhood nurture, and that will ensure that every month, everybody that has an email, or every month, everybody that has an email address is going to get an email that talks about what's going on with the home values in the area based on the address. Now, some of you guys may say, well, I don't have addresses for anybody. Okay, well then you go in there and you put in the most popular neighborhood in Charleston, or the most popular neighborhood in Greater Charlotte as their neighborhood. You just put that in there. What's going to end up happening is, and this happened to me when I was in production, is that you would see that agents, or that your clients would be getting these emails, and they would love them if it was their actual neighborhood, but if it wasn't, they'd say, hey, you actually set me up for Cheval in Mint Hill, and I actually live in Cotswold near Uptown in Charlotte. Can you change it? That's a great way for you to get an update into your database. You get their address, because what they're seeing is they're seeing the value of that newsletter, and they want it for where they live. Okay, so if you set that neighborhood nurture up, I'm sure Holly already has it set up, or it's actually one that's automatic in command. You just go ahead and set that up. That will ensure that they're going to get 1 monthly email from you, branded towards you. And again, that now adds to, so we're already at 18 touches, and really all you've done is the 4 phone calls and the 2 text messages. That neighborhood nurture is just an automatic. Another suggestion that he has here is to create a newsletter that he sends digitally and through your database. I do like a mail touch. I do think they're better mail touches, but you could create a newsletter using one of the templates in Command, right? Again, that newsletter could just be branded towards you. You update it every month with a little bit about what's going on in the community, and you send it out. So now you've got 24 emails, 4 phone calls, you're at 28, and 2 text messages, you're at 30. Your other 6 could be anything from some snail mail. At this point, I do think snail mail is important. What are some ideas that you have for if you were thinking through, okay, I want to be sure to stay top of mind. I need to have 36 touches. I've done email, I've called, and I've texted. What's a snail mail touch that kind of makes you stand out? Stephen, do you do anything with your database?
Meredith, I have something I can add when you're done.
Yeah, Stephen, okay, just a minute, Lori. What'd you get? Oh,
Lori can go.
go ahead, Lori.
I was gonna say birthday cards or holiday cards, things like that. Any kind of holiday that comes up, you can send out just a little thinking of you note or little gift or just a card or just to say hi.
Yeah. So holiday, how about you, Stephen? Did you do anything different than those?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I make some relevant. So when the whole settlement stuff was coming out, I did like a, hey, here's what this means, and like a mortgage rates type stuff, just trying to help them understand what it actually means for them and what's the true impact, if it applies to them or not, and how much, like what's the impact on them.
Yep,
The
love that.
relevant information.
Relevant information. So my suggestion would be pick a holiday. Typically, I would not pick Christmas because I just think they get mixed in with everything else. Everybody gets a Christmas card. So think Thanksgiving, think New Year's, even think Valentine's Day, still around the holiday season, but maybe not a Christmas card so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. There's a birthday card, so there's 2. Mother's Day and
Meredith? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Lori.
I was gonna say another thing is if you had a closing, you send a closing statement around tax time.
Yep, I'm gonna get to that one. Yep, that's a good one too. So then you have Mother's Day or Father's Day. Then at tax season, especially right after the new year, you send them, if they had a closing last year, buyer or seller, you're gonna send them their closing statement, their closing docs. Again, just another easy touch that you don't have to do a lot of thinking around, but it allows you to stay top of mind and prepare to talk to your sphere of influence. Anybody have anything? Oh, that's my Otter. Right now, if you guys want to grab the notes out of Otter, because Otter doesn't really work, I can't share it with you. So if you want to grab it there. Hex said she was thinking handwriting a note, get it copied, send it out once a month. You can do that for sure, for sure. There's also something if you want to look into, that's exactly, you can get some to do that automatically for you, like a program that will do that. But yes, that'll work for sure. That your cost there is just your stamp. And the way stamps are going, I mean, it can get costly, but that's another way to stay top of mind. So really this session today was a lot about support the US. I got you, friend. We will support the U.S. Postal Service for sure. But really this session was about how are you preparing to add value, to show your value, to add value to your clients as you're figuring out how to stay top of mind and creating like a 36 touch plan. A lot of this information, if you go to connect in Command, it'll spit this right back out to you and tell you how to do this. Leverage Command, I know it has some glitches here and there, but it works 80% of the time. And sometimes just it's getting something out and staying relevant is more important than it being perfect all the time, right? Anybody have anything else to add on this Wednesday? You will have Reverend Cohn tomorrow to lead you into the weekend. Does anybody else have anything else to add? All right, well, I'm going to give you 4 minutes back to your Wednesday. Get your lead gen done and have a great week. I'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. Have a good day, everybody.